So in this video I want to look at outs and how do you get an out, because if you remember, each team is going to be in the field playing defense each inning. And so over the course of a game they'll be out there 9 times and they have to get 3 outs each inning, and so your team will have to get 27 outs over the course of the game. So I want to look at how do you do that. So the first thing is that the rule book actually lists 19 different ways to get out, or to get an out, depending which side you're looking at it from. So you might be thinking, you know, that's a lot of different rules and, you know, situations to remember, and, you know, how can I ever remember all those? So the good thing is that not all of them happen all that often. So even if you went up to somebody who's been playing baseball for 10 years and you said, you know, can you name me the 19 different ways to get an out? I'd be very surprised if they could do it. So what we're going to look at in this video is just the 6 most common. And if you know these 6, then you know, I'll make a kind of an advanced video later on. But if you know these 6, you should be good in 95% of the time. So the first way, and the simplest way to get an out, is probably that if a batter hits a ball into the air and it's caught by a fielder, then he is out. And in this case, it doesn't matter if it's a fair ball or a foul ball. And so basically the only requirement for this is that the ball cannot touch the ground, and if a defensive player catches it before it hits the ground, then he's out. And so there's one kind of exception to the rule, and that's other than a foul tip. So you remember, if you watch the video about balls and strikes, that a foul tip is basically the same thing as if the batter were to swing and miss it. And so what a foul tip is when the batter swings and he just barely touches the ball, but the catcher's able to catch it anyway. That's a foul tip. But really, by the rules, it's no different than if he were to swing and miss it completely. So that kind of plays into the next one. So if you watch that video about balls and strikes, you'll know that when a third strike is caught by the catcher, then that's a strikeout. So this is a strikeout, and so this is where this part here, this out, comes from, because it's a strikeout. And so that's one way that the rules book lists it. And then just kind of to make sure it covers everything, you know, it might be a little redundant to say these other ones, but it does. And so he bunts the ball foul on the third strike. And so you remember, if you hit the ball into foul territory, you know, and it hits the ground, you know, before it's caught, then that's just called a foul ball, and that really doesn't count. It doesn't affect anything. They just go back to, they just kind of have a do-over. And so, but the exception to that is if he bunts the ball foul, it's a strike no matter what. And so even if he has two strikes on him already, he squares around, he bunts the ball, and it goes foul, that's going to be, you know, a strikeout. So this is a strikeout too. So there's you know, there's two ways that you get a strikeout. So the third way is also a strikeout way, and that is if the batter attempts to hit a third strike and the ball touches him. So you remember from the balls and strikes video that if a ball hits a batter, you know, and he's just standing there, then he gets to go to first, and he'll become a base runner. But if he actually tries to swing at the ball, and the ball physically doesn't hit the bat, but it physically hits the person, hits the batter, then it doesn't really matter, because he was trying to swing, and because he was trying to hit it, that's going to count as a strike just the same. So there's a third way to get a strikeout. So these are kind of, you know, kind of maybe a repetitive way to say things, but just to make sure it's, you know, covering all the technicalities. The rule book lists each one of these individually as ways to get out. And those are 4 ways, you know: pop up, and we call that a pop up or a fly ball, and if it's caught by the fielder before it hits the ground, that's an out, you know, and these 3 ways to strike out. And then perhaps the most common way that you will see an out be made is that after the batter hits a fair ball, he or first base is tagged before the batter gets to touches first base. And so to explain that a little more, let's say, you know, we have our batter here, and he's on the red team, so he's here, and he's going to hit the ball, you know, out into the field. And remember, if it would have been if he hits a fly ball and they catch it, you know, he's out automatically. But let's say, you know, he hits the ball, and it goes to the ground, and it hits the ground right here, and it bounces out this way. And so what'll happen in that case is, remember the second baseman, he stands out here. This is kind of his area, the second baseman. And so the second baseman, he's going to run over, and he's going to pick the ball up, and he's going to throw it to the first baseman. And what the first baseman is going to do is he's going to catch the ball, and he's going to touch first base with his foot. And so usually he'll do that in the other order. So he'll run over and he'll put his foot on first base, and then he'll catch the ball from the second baseman. So as soon as he catches the ball, his foot's already touching first base, so then the batter would be out. So at the same, and unless, you know, the batter can beat him. So at the same time as this ball is rolling on the ground, this batter, he's running down the line here, trying to beat the throw of the second baseman to the first baseman. So if the batter gets here first, and he steps on the base before this first baseman catches the ball from the second baseman, then he would be safe. But if the second baseman, and usually it's the case that the second baseman will be able to get the ball there, and the first baseman will catch it, so he'll be out. And so